What's up, guys? So, kind of wanted to make a quick video on this, especially for any owners of the PRO VLA II compressor. But even if not, I was also curious about another thing. But yeah, so I've owned the PRO VLA II for quite a few years. I think I must have gotten it maybe like 2017 or 2018, maybe earlier than that. I don't know. I've had it for a long time. It was one of my first compressors. It sounds great. I'm sure if you guys have seen my channel, you've seen I've done a few videos on it. It always sounds good, and I still own it, of course. So what I'm about to mention is not a deal breaker, but definitely has become an annoyance. And I guess I was just curious if anybody else has experienced something similar. And by similar, I mean the warm up time on this compressor is kind of unique. And like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but it has to be honest, it has it kind of steered me away from using it sometimes on a mix because of the warm-up time. And I don't mean like a few minutes. Like I know in the manual, I think it says like it might take like 1 to 3 minutes or something to warm up and show the correct gain reduction. But man, if I'm using this on a mix and let's just say it's dialed in right now or something, two, maybe peaking at 4 dB of gain reduction, just say that's where it's dialed in. That's where you're doing the mix at, and you stop the mix and you come back the next day. If I wanted to turn this on and use it, any of my other gear does not do this, but if I wanted to turn on the VLA and use it, I'm telling you, it takes like at least 15 minutes to 20 minutes to warm up. And it sometimes I want to sit down and work. So if I have the VLA in a project, I end up dialing in a plugin to sound as close as possible just for when I'm working that first like 15-20 minutes. Sometimes I feel like it's a freaking half an hour for me, guys. I'm not even lying. Sometimes I feel like the thing just ain't warming up, and so I end up just kind of dialing in a plugin until it starts to read the gain reduction that I either remember or have in my notes. Yeah, so I don't know if that's happened to anybody, but I've tried different tubes in it. I don't think it's a malfunction. It does still work great. It still sounds great. I'm not hating on it or anything. I still own it, like I said, and there's a reason why I own it because it sounds great. But yeah, I mean that just really just. I'm wondering if anybody else has this warm up time of 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour. And like I said, I've had it for a lot of years. This is how it's been the entire time. So I feel like it's very consistent. There's no crackling or nothing like that. No crackling in the pots. I've tried different tubes and it just for the sound purposes. But nothing's changed. That's just kind of what it is. And it's annoying. So yeah. So outside of that, the only other thing I think I've seen some people gripe about on this compressor, which is surprising because, it's kind of a entry-level budget priced compressor, but how good it sounds, there's not a lot of gripes outside of maybe the stereo balance when you're actually having the stereo link engaged. Some people have said that the right and left side isn't perfectly balanced on the output. So I mean they do have like trim pots inside the compressor on either side where you can dial it in with a screwdriver. And there's like a way to do that. I think there's a video out there. Somebody opened it up and it's not a surefire way to do it because if you start hitting, harder gain reduction, I don't know. It's to me, it's kind of a minor thing. Once that was, I don't think I ever noticed it really until I heard about that. And then I opened it up and tried to, dial it in exactly. And I just haven't had any issue since then. So maybe it's not as big of an issue to me, but some people I know that they've mentioned that. And that's really only if you're going to use it in stereo link. And I've used it in stereo link mode for the majority of when I use it and haven't had an issue. But that's really the only other thing. And that's not a big deal to me. And I'm curious because, if anybody out there owns this compressor, if you're looking for something like the VLA, an optical compressor, really transparent, really good sounding compressor with tubes in it, sounds really, really, really good. If you follow ART, the company, let's see, Applied Research and Technology is the name of the company. They've been putting out over the last like year and a half or so, I think, like new Mark III versions or new versions of their compressors. They have like 1U versions of the MPA preamp. It's called the MPA Solo. They have a VLA Solo. It's a 1U version. And there's some different features in there. Like they have like or there's one called I don't know, Solo Studio, I think. It's like a preamp and a compressor and a 1U rack unit. And I think there's like they have different style of preamps or different style of compression. They also just came out with recently the Pro Channel Mark III. So that's why I'm like thinking, man, if they're doing a Pro Channel Mark III, does that mean an MPA Mark III is coming out, or does that mean a Pro VLA Mark III is coming out? Because what could be some cool features on that? Because I don't, like I said, these little gripes. Maybe it's not little. Like none of my other gear with tubes in it needs to warm up for like at all, really. I mean, yeah, you give it a couple minutes, but it's not a big deal. Um, this thing, I don't know if that's a deal breaker for some people, but I don't think it's that bad of a deal. It's just for the price, it sounds good, but feature wise, on an MK3 for me, I think it'd be really cool to have a mix knob, like a parallel mix knob, on here, and maybe some more. I'm pretty happy with it, but maybe some more markings around the controls, because you like for attack, 12 to 25, and in between, you're just kind of imagining, like where does it. And I think it's probably in even increments as you turn the knob, but yeah, I mean, some more markings never hurts. I do like that about a lot of the my 500 series gear actually has a lot of markings. It's a lot of, you can take mental notes, or if you're going to take notes, especially with analog gear, it is always nice to have more markings because you're going to need to recall that at some point, and so that never hurts. I mean, I don't know how much printing on a freaking piece of metal to sell something costs, but it can't be that much. A parallel mix knob, that I feel like at this point, that's almost like expected in a modern release of a compressor. Um, I know the release only goes down to 150 milliseconds, which is, fine. I've never had a problem with it again. But maybe if it can go down to 100, could be cool, but, whatever. I think the parallel mix knob is probably like the only thing. And if they're going to do a similar circuit where, I guess for some people, the stereo link isn't, fully like true balanced on the right and the left when they're linking it, maybe just put a little, like a trim pot, kind of like they do on the meter trim. Maybe put that under each of the outputs. And then if it's weird, you can just, put a little screwdriver and fine tune it. That's something similar to like the, this Lindell compressor. They get a trim pot right here because, sometimes it's not 100%, whether it's in whatever, but you can balance it. So it's kind of like, oh, well, it's not, and then you can change it. I mean, outside of that, what could be some other cool features for a Mark III VLA? I don't know. Maybe they're not even coming out with one. I have no information on that. I was just thinking, because I'm like, if they come out with a Mark III, yeah, what would it be? I mean, maybe make the knobs chrome like that because I think it looks better. I changed the knobs on mine, but they're not going to do that. I know that's petty. Well, anyway, that was my video. Yeah, guys, let me know if you have any ideas for a Mark III VLA, and if anybody else has such a long warm up time. I don't know if my compressor's malfunctioning, but I guess I'm just curious. So, all right, thanks for tuning in, guys. See you in the next one.